And we actually arrived to the last fireside chat for today. After that, there will be just a thank you coming on from the main organizer, Ilya Volkov from CVA. And I'm very happy to announce that it's a very interesting one. It's alternative banking bypassing the traditional system, right? So that those of you still here might be part of this disruptive fireside chat, and it's also disruptive because we have some great profiles. Speaking of Fernando Aquino Fontes from SmartPay Brazil, Giw Zanganeh from Tether, and the fireside chat will be moderated by Sheraz, Ahmed from Storm and CVA.
All right, fantastic. Really excited to host this panel. What I've been told is supposed to be the most thought-provoking panel, and actually I was encouraged and rallied on by one of the board members, one that I will not name but is in the center here, to make this the most thought-provoking, because there is definitely a crazy dichotomy going on in the world today between what we consider, let's say, the financial institutions, the banks around the world, and how things are going related to some smart fellows that we have just on my left here that are really transforming the way in which finance, payments are running and operating in the world. So maybe some of you might not know the organizations that these two gentlemen represent, so I'll give them maybe 30 quick seconds to just present themselves before we dive straight in. Very exciting.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here and close the forum, the event today. So thanks for staying here. My name is Giw, and I work at Tether. Tether is the largest issuer of stablecoins in the world. We have issued around 140 billion US dollars worth of stablecoins, and have around 350 million users worldwide. Most of our users are in the so-called global south, where access to dollars is, let's say, more appreciated than the developed world. And I myself, I'm based in Lugano. I manage the Plan B, which has onboarded more than 300 merchants in the city of Lugano to accept Bitcoin and Tether, USDT, as a mean of payment. So thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Fernando?
Yes, nice to... Yeah, can you hear me? Yes, okay, thank you. So it's very nice to be here. Thank you, Ilya, and all the organization from the Crypto Valley. It's been wonderful to meeting you all. So my name is Fernando. I come from Brazil. I represent SmartPay, and I'm very humbled and honored to be the only South American speaking here today. And well, you said you have 320 establishments here that accept USDT. So what we made in Brazil, we made around 36 million establishments accept USDT and Bitcoin. So that's why I'm here, and that's what I'm going to show you today. Thank you.
Fantastic. It's a great difference there between Lugano and Brazil, just a little bit. Fantastic. Well, thank you for sharing. So we've heard so much about banks today. Maybe we can just get a quick raise of hands in the audience if you believe that banks are moving fast enough when it comes to innovation. Yeah, there's two right in the end. Yeah. Okay, we have two bankers in the room.
I think they're innovation managers at the bank.
Okay, fantastic. Well, no, thank you so much for providing those show of hands. So there is definitely a problem, and I think that was also the purpose of the Crypto Valley Association to kind of put on this conference, was also to demonstrate, okay, there is a challenge today, and how can we solve that? How can we also solve that with banks and not just exclude them? What can we do to work together with them? And I know both these the organizations and the chaps next to me do also collaborate with banks. So please don't get me wrong when I tease a little bit the banks in the room. It's definitely not to exclude. It's to further collaborate, but also to understand what are the means in order to do that. So yeah, first question here, and that I have for you, Fernando, because I think, you know, the unbanked are actually becoming the unbankers. They have so much control over their wealth today. They can decide what to do with it and the likes. And so what is SmartPay in Brazil doing to kind of address some of the failures of some of the traditional banks that you're seeing in Brazil, and how SmartPay even came to be, right? Because if the banks were doing their job, maybe your solution wouldn't have even existed in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. First of all, you have to understand that I come from South America, so we have a very different point of view between crypto. We have a very different set of challenges with high inflation and loss of buying power. So for us, it's very good to have your savings in dollars. But if you use the traditional systems with SWIFT, you have a lot of bureaucracy, it's slow, it's expensive. So the first thing we've done, we have provided means for common users to dollarize. That's something that traditional banking system in Brazil, they are really ready to solve this problem. If you want to have a dollarized account, you need to send your money via dollars, via SWIFT outside. And what we have made is we have hacked into the Pix ecosystem. That's the biggest instant payment system in Brazil. And we have provided the means for the users to quickly transfer from reais to self-custodial USDT and Bitcoin and back to reais. So for you to understand a little bit about Pix and how this is a game-changing solution, Pix is a central bank developed payment system in Brazil, and it has gone to huge numbers. When I say that 36 million establishments that accept Pix right now, so if you accept Pix, now you accept USDT and Bitcoin. But the merchant, he doesn't need to adapt. He doesn't need to change his infrastructure. He can stay in reais if he wants, but the user can stay with self-custodial USDT and Bitcoin and still participate in the financial system seamlessly. So that's
like a Twint on steroids.
Yes, Twint on steroids, exactly. And of course, Pix is free for the users to make transactions between themselves, but we charge 2% for this transaction. But the user is paying very happily because he's storing his money in a strong currency. And for Europeans, it's kind of hard to understand that, but only last year we lost about 20% of our buying power in reais. So that's like 1/5 of your savings that's gone in a year. So that's the big difference we are making right now. You can store your money in crypto, but still participate in daily life with everything using Pix.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much. And you mentioned USDT, which is, let's say, the #1 product of Tether. USDT, which is also considered, let's say, the currency of the global south to a certain extent. Maybe you can give us some context as to, like, yeah, how did it even become that, and how does it operate kind of today, and how does it serve as an alternative to banking?
Yeah, so as Fernando also said, our product, which is this USDT, the stablecoin backed by dollars, has gotten a lot of adoption in the global south for reasons that were mentioned. So you have very high inflation. So sometimes people, one of the interesting critics that we also receive is like, our business model is based on we keeping the reserves with the US Treasury, and that gives us like 5% interest rate, which gives us a profit. And then some people say, why don't you forward the profit to the users? There are two reasons for that. First of all, if you forward the profit, that thing becomes a security. And if it's a security, you cannot, it's not a cash equivalent, so you cannot actually have the adoption that we have. It's a totally different kind of product. And second of all, our users in the global south, they don't really care about the 5%, because as Fernando just said, they're losing 20% in one of the good cases. I mean, Turkey is a very big market for us. Nigeria is a big market of ours. They're having 50+, 80+% inflation year over year. So that becomes irrelevant. And then a lot of people have family who work abroad, and the family who works abroad then needs or wants to support the family back home, and USDT is a perfect way to send value back home as well. So these are and then on the other side, so you're basically, it's an alternative to having cash. I think everybody I also actually come from the global south originally. I lived there for a very long time. I think everybody who lived in these places, you know, like, it is not uncommon to try to get cash in the black market and hide it at home. That's actually very common to do that, because you want to have the dollars, you don't want to have the local currency. So USDT is just a much safer way and faster way and cheaper way to have exposure to the US dollar. So that is the main reason why we have grown so big and have gotten so much adoption.
Fantastic, yeah. USDT provides you with a less fluffier pillow at home, but at least a more stable way to operate. And so maybe you both alluded to a loss of purchasing power. And for me, that is, let's say, has a synonym of trust, right? When we talk about trust. And when someone tells me about a bank, I'm like, okay, yeah, I trust them with my money, right? And so maybe here, Fernando, you can kind of jump in and give me how does SmartPay operate without that kind of seal of trust, right? Without kind of saying, okay, you are a bank. How are you able to operate without that seal of trust, and how do you even create that trust yourselves with maybe without that seal?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, you see, traditional banks have had decades or even centuries to build trust with their users. They have the big buildings, the marble floors, they have the big marketing campaigns, the regulations, and the government backing. And that's, of course, that's easy to build trust upon. But the way we are working upon, it's a very different way, because we don't ask for trust, because we give the user the full control over their assets. We give him the private key. So users trust what they control, and we give them full control. So we believe in the future, especially with the new generation of users that are more crypto savvy, they don't see banks as partners, they see banks as necessary evils. So for example, right now in Brazil, I don't have any more money in the bank. My money is stored in USDT, in Bitcoin, on-chain, and I own the private wallet. I own the private keys. I don't need a bank. So I do all my payments and everything without needing the bank. So to answer your question, how are we building trust is because we don't ask for it.
This is a great way to put it. And I do see that many more people are putting trust in code over in institutions,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And so, you know, Tether has had to go through enormous resilience over the past 10 years, being battered left, right, and center, from reserves to this, to even a variety of unpegs and the likes. You've had to earn your trust a little bit, as Fernando was mentioning. Can you talk to us a little bit about that over the years, and kind of today, yeah, how you've built up that trust and what trust means to you as a Tether representative?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great question, because, as you said, we have been attacked. I think for most of our existence in various ways. It has improved significantly, and there were actually a couple of interesting things that happened that helped with that. But before I get to that example, so actually, in our case, we are not a bank, which means we don't do fractional reserve. The money that we issue, we actually have it. We need to have it. It's much different than a bank. If you have a bank run today on banks, I think there was, after the financial crisis, they were supposed to have 10% backing, and then with COVID, it went back to 0%. So it's like basically just printed out of thin air. It's like ridiculous. But if you would have a bank run now on any bank, they're not going to survive. And we see actually anytime a bank run happens, either the bank collapses or the government has to intervene. Now, what happened in our case that helped us a lot is like there was the crash in 2022 with Silicon Valley Bank and then FTX and everything. And we had, obviously there was a big scare happening. So we had at the time, I think $70 or $80 billion issued. And since a lot of our customers went to redeem because they were also afraid that we don't have the money, there within 48 hours, we redeemed $7 billion. And within 28 days, we redeemed $28 billion of our clients' money, which means we gave back to the clients $28 billion within a month. It's something that no bank could have ever done. And that was one of the events that basically just showed that we are solid and we have the backing that we say. And that's actually interesting because you talked about trust. In the case of Tether Wallet and SmartPay, is different because they actually, as he said, they don't need the trust because you own your money. In the case of Tether, you still need to, in a way, trust actually Tether, because we say we have the dollars and we give you the USDT, the stable coin. So at the end of the day, whenever you have a crypto that is representing something, I say now in the real world to make it simpler. So if you have a crypto that is defined in the crypto space, so like Bitcoin, Ethereum, all of these things, they are internally verifiable. So you don't really need to trust anything except the code. In the case that is representing something else, and that can be US dollars, it can be grain, it can be oil, it can be anything, a real-world asset that it represents, you're going to have a middleman between the crypto space and the real world. And at the end of the day, you're always going to have to trust the one who is there and doing the transaction between the real world and the crypto world. And in this case, it's Tether. And we could gain the trust just by solid work, being very diligent, as mentioned, being fully backed, being able to redeem, so we earn the trust over time like that.
Yeah, thank you. So it really does sound like kind of banking without a bank today is kind of even a reality. And I want to kind of touch upon maybe like the sympathetic kind of empathetic kind of question towards, let's say, also the banks as well, right? Where is the banking industry ready for a world without, you know, the 3 C's, which are clearing, custody, and credit? Clearing, custody, and credit. Yeah, I moved my microphone away so you can actually hear that. And really to understand that point a little bit further, Fernando as well, I mean, how should banks respond to a world where there are, you know, the SmartPays out there, where some of their consumer base, their users are moving away from what they have to offer? Should they complain to the regulators? Should they put more marketing campaigns out there? Like, how can they change, in your opinion? I mean, what can they do?
Yeah, well, that's a great question, because it's something we are watching in real time happening. You see the 5 protocols, you see the stablecoins, you see the open finance and solutions like ourselves, like what we have in Brazil, and it's all happening. I don't think the future is about fighting between banks and blockchains. I think it's about collaboration. The only way we do what we do in Brazil is because we have key partners in banks and other kinds of service that provide us even with ways to withdraw cash from a network of over 24,000 ATMs machines in Brazil. And that's about collaboration. So I believe the future is all about that. We can't, I think the banks need to be able to work less like a vault and more like a platform. They need to, I believe in the future, the best banks won't be the best vaults, won't be the best fortresses. They will have the best API.
Very well said. Thank you. Cool. And so maybe give to yourself, and one of the final questions here on our lovely fireside chat. What areas in the next 5 years do you believe that blockchain would either replace or, let's say, enhance in traditional finance over 5 years? What do you think are going to be the key elements?
So I'm actually a blockchain skeptic beyond the crypto use case. But I think most of the discussions today were about the crypto use case. I don't know if I wasn't there all day, but there were the blockchain use cases about logistics and supply chain. I think they kind of died. I was working actually on them for a while as well. But I think when it comes to crypto, I think it's just I think more and more the banks are going to just accept this new reality. There has been a long resistance of accepting it for various reasons. I think it was just something very, very new, very innovative, very outlandish. Like they couldn't probably trust it. They probably still don't trust it. But at the end of the day, you see now it is like it is something. It's a train that cannot be stopped, and I think it's becoming more and more evident to most of the banks. And therefore, what is going to happen is like there is a very large amount of capital. Basically, 99% of the capital is in the traditional finance world, and then we have 1% in the crypto world, or whatever the numbers are. But the flow clearly is going to the crypto space, to crypto solutions. So I think the banks, they just want to be there in the middle, right? Because you have the money here, it's going to go there. So the one who is doing the conversion is the one who is going to actually also take a fee. So now we heard actually SmartPay is taking 2% fee, and unless, and this is just one of the use cases, there are many different use cases, but unless the banks want to forego that potential market and margin, they would need to actually move and start offering these kind of services. And we see that now also slowly in Europe. There is some banks that start offering, traditional banks who start offering purchasing and holding Bitcoin, crypto, Tether even. So I think it's going to be much more widely adopted within the traditional banking system to own as well crypto in your platform, so that it becomes easier for your customers to have also exposure to crypto.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I think for a final kind of question here, and a very kind of rapid fire in 30 seconds, because we don't often put ourselves in the shoes of bankers, right? We're like, you're not doing it right, I would do it better, blockchain is better. But maybe just really in like 5-10 seconds each, if you were today, the CEO of a large bank in your own countries or the likes, if you were in their shoes, what would you do today to be able to, radically make that change and the likes?
Yeah, for the first thing I would do is like propose a different custody model. I think it has to be tailored for the user. So let the user choose if he wants full custody and hybrid custody, maybe with a multi-sig wallet, or make the bank have the full custody. But you need to give the user that ability. And also, why not use it for cross-border payments? You have to replace SWIFT. SWIFT is expensive and takes so long, and with Tether, it's like in seconds for pennies. So why not?
Interesting. Yep.
Yeah, I think that was already a very sophisticated answer. My answer would be much simpler, which is like just if you're like really the CEO or on the board of a large bank, then just jump on the wagon already. I mean, at this point, you see BlackRock, they jumped on the wagon. I mean, they were against it 3 years ago. You look at the videos where they're saying Bitcoin is a scam, and now they launched the ETFs, and it has been the most successful ETF in the history of ETFs. It has grown faster. It is almost as big as the gold ETF. It's like unprecedented amount of interest and growth in volumes that have come in. So I think at this point, it's just like, just open your eyes, jump on the bandwagon, start benefiting of it for your company, for your customers, because if you're there, you're gonna take part of the cake, and if you're not there, somebody else is gonna take part of the cake.
Wonderful, thank you. And maybe to just close off, I was speaking to a banker just before the panel. Yes, it is 6 o'clock, and they are still all here in the audience. Just speaking to a banker, and he very much put it into the following, right? Is that it's very difficult to be the first mover because of the risks, but none of us want to be the last person. And I think maybe the message here today is that, unfortunately, you can't be the first mover today, so just don't be the last one. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sheraz, Giw, and Fernando. Thanks very much. So, with all that, I'm very pleased to say that you've made it. This was the Web3 Banking Symposium here in Lugano, but stay here. I will have Ilya once again coming back to say a couple of farewell words to you. Very important. Please stay for the apéro, starting right after the closing words of Ilya. I would like to thank you from my side for your attention. It was a pleasure to host you here today, and we look forward to see you, first of all, in June on the 5th and the 6th on the Crypto Valley Conference in Grootkreuz. So please come and join us there, number one. Number two, there will be Web3 Banking Symposium very soon again, I believe, learning again how much of interest there is, and we look forward from the CVA's perspective as well as with all our partners to see you again.